Hi, my name is Kevin Thomas, W1DED. Today's guest is joining me from Portugal. Nearly 40% of the viewers on my YouTube channel are in Europe, so it's not a big surprise that I get a lot of recommendations for ham radio operators from Europe. One of the names that has come up several times is CT1ILT Filipe Lopes. Filipe, who often operates under the call sign CR6K, is one of the top contesters in the world, and I'm really excited to have him join me today. So, Filipe, I believe you're in Portugal, but I know you spent a lot of time in France. Where are you right now?
That's exactly right. I'm in Portugal right now. I'm preparing for CQ SSB in coming weekends. And we're trying to prepare some stuff because we had some problems with the stations. We're trying to repair and fixing some antennas because we had some bad weather recently.
So I really want to get into the WPX and your plans for that. But before we do, I'm really curious about your ham radio background, how you got started in this hobby.
Sure. So basically, I started very young. When I was a little boy, I joined my father and a group of Portuguese amateur radio guys that usually went to IOTA contest expeditions, and I always liked joining them and seeing what they were doing, and even trying to make some contacts outside of contests. And this started to make a big interest in myself. So I tried to learn CW myself. Of course, it was not very easy in the beginning, but I always had the hearing for it, I think, and it was quite interesting.
It seems like a theme that keeps coming up for me is how people got their start. And as you know, I get together with the contest crew every Monday, publish it on Tuesday, and that includes Dan Craig, N6MJ, and Chris Hurlbut, KL9A. And both of those gentlemen also got started young with their dads. They grew up in a ham radio contesting environment. So I think that certainly gives you a leg up when you have that training really young, I suppose.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You know, my father, I was always around amateur radio stuff. You know, my father, CT1CJJ Jose. He started actually many years ago in Luxembourg, and then when we came to Portugal, he built a small station at my grandmother's house, and he started there. So it was quite interesting because parents don't really want to tell you to do something, and they will try to persuade you not to do some stuff. But when they say don't do it, the first thing that comes to your mind is just do it. So this was exactly what happened to me, because he said no, go play with your friends, go do this, go do that. But since I started hearing him talking on the radio and doing some CW, I always, the interest came up to me, and I always got interested about it. And the funny thing is that my father is a left-handed, and I'm a right-handed. But the funny thing is that when my father went away to work, sometimes this is just to say that I do CW only with the left hand. I'm left. I can do it with the right, but mainly with the left hand, because my father is left-handed. So when he left to work, I wanted to practice a little bit. So he had his bencher key, and I did not want to move it at all. So he did not know that I was there, practicing. So I learned with the left hand, and today I always do it. I can do with both hands, but left hand is, of course, 100%.
Well, I appreciate that story, and it doesn't surprise me at all that you're ambidextrous and can do code with either hand. We'll get into this later on, but I know you're into 2BSIQ, which is just another level for any operator that's listening, except for Dan Craig, of course, and Chris Hurlbut. I'm really curious, Filipe, on what it takes to get a ham radio license in Portugal. Obviously, our American listeners understand the process here. It's pretty straightforward, different classes of license. What happens in Portugal to get a license?
So in Portugal, nowadays is a little bit more complex. But back then, you had to go to the authority, which is ANACOM in Portugal, and you have to pass an exam there, supervised by someone that is looking if you copy or not or something like that. A normal exam, like if it was at school. And you have to pay. Back then, you had to pass actually three exams. Four actually with CW, radio, electricity, and legislation. And nowadays, it's a little bit easier to get your license, but unfortunately, the regulations changed. And today, everyone that wants to start ham radio in Portugal, they have to be an SWL for 3 years, and after that, they can take another exam for the next license, which is category 2. The difference in the calls is that category 3 is CR7 prefix, category 2 is CS7, and category 1 is CT7. So if you hear someone CR7 on the bands, this means that he's supervised by someone. Someone is close to him, supervising what he's doing, because he's normally an SWL and he can only operate if there is another person with a higher rank category close to him. This is very limiting for the amateur radio in Portugal, but we hope we as the clubs join together with REP, which is the Yaru representative in Portugal, and we try to came up. We came up with another regulation and proposed to them, but it's a very long process, and we are still waiting for their agreement.
So clearly, in this conversation, you're not just doing contesting on the weekends. It sounds like you're very involved with clubs and very involved with ham radio in general in Portugal. Tell me about that.
Not only in Portugal, but in France. Yeah, we have a club. We have a club in France. We have always tried to make our little group. Now we have our own little group at CR6K team that we share everything. We have a big. We tend to share all the information we can. We tend to improve our skills, because even just DXing, for example, we have also GPDX, which is a very important group for which is known for many years in Portugal for DX, and we try to share as much as we can information about ham radio, about propagation mainly. We do a lot of 6 meter in Portugal. All these crazy openings on 6 meter. Jose CT1BOH is like our guru propagation guy. He's always sending us information about the propagation, so it's really interesting.
So Filipe, I've got to ask, the hobby is really viewed to be an aging hobby with a lot of old guys like me. You're obviously not an old guy like me. I get that you started young with your dad, but what has kept you in the hobby at a young age? I mean, again, not just in the hobby, you're fully engaged. Why haven't you got distracted by all the excuses that we all use, life, career, family, online gaming, all the things that pull young people away? What's been the difference with you that have kept you in the hobby?
I can only remember of two things. First is CW, and the second is contesting. So, I started contesting very early, and I learned CW before I was even an amateur radio operator. So these are the only two things that keep me going, and and all the fact that you can improve your skills, the fact that you can improve your station with with so many limitations. Also the friendship that there's around the amateur radio is incredible. Everywhere you go in the world, you find someone, you share information, you share your customs, you have a lot of friends that come abroad, that come from other countries, and we are such a vast hobby that we can talk about everything, that it's so interesting, electronics, building stuff, This is what kept me interested in.
Well, it's an interesting observation, and I won't go down this rabbit hole today, but I think there's a clue there that creating kind of a competitive environment as a young person within contesting seems like that is what brought you back, and layer on that the technical part, making a station better, getting better with the skills. Certainly something that I need to pursue in another conversation about keeping young people in the hobby.
That's a good topic.
Let's flip back into contesting, because that's really where your name came to my attention. I believe I read just recently that unofficially in the ARRL DX phone contest, you were number one in Europe, maybe set a new record, I think number 2 in the world. Correct me if I'm wrong. But if that's the case, very impressive. Tell me how you ended up in that contest.
You are absolutely right. Actually, I think you understood this, but I'm not an SSB guy. I am a 100%, not 100%, let's say 95% CW operator. And I only did these past SSB contests, or at least this was the first one, in SSB because of WRTC. Otherwise, I would not have done them. Because we need to get those qualification points, and we only have one position in Europe for area. So you do what you have to do. So I had to do it. Of course, I trained, I practiced a lot, and the goal was to do mostly what Dan has done, is to be SIQ in SSB. I think I mastered the technique I use in 2BSIQ, which is with one keyboard. I think it works pretty well. There's some minor bugs, but luckily we have guys like Paul and Bjorn from DXlog that help us a lot, debugging stuff. And I can say that it's operator skill, but it's not only operator skill, because without software, without technology behind, you cannot do it. It's not possible. So this is when you adapt, when you are able to follow the technology and put it in the right place, I think you can do things which are pretty interesting.
Well, Filipe, I think this underscores what kind of a competitor that you are, that you spend 95% of your time with CW. It sounds like you've not done a major phone contest in the past. And in any case, you jump in, you learn the skills, you get the right technology, and you win. That's pretty incredible.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin. It's... I don't like it because I really don't like to talk too much. I prefer to have my friends around. I prefer to have my friends around. The CR6K team, we are about 12 guys, and I rather do in multi-op, multi-2, or multi-single, whatever, But I really like to do with them. It's we tend more to multi-2. I'm rebuilding. Actually, I built the station for multi-2 or SO2R. And right now I'm trying to think of it as more of a multi-station, because, we're getting tired of single ops too, It has been so many years. So we have to rethink about what to do, because maybe think about other...
Okay, so let's transition into CR6K, your contest station. Is this your station, Filipe? Is it a club station? Tell me the genesis of this.
Basically, CR6K is a family station. Okay, it has been completely built by my father and myself. We started very, very early. We only had one tower. We started to progress. I went to France to work in 2011, and since then, with my friends in France, Jérôme and Cédric, F4EGZ and F4AJS. They helped me a lot in France, actually. They're very... Actually, the passion is everywhere, as I told you. So they are contesters too. They have always been. They had a nice club station with a lot of antennas of their own, and we talked about operating from Portugal. We started operating from Portugal. Of course, the station was not as it is right now. It was it was a normal station, one antenna or two antennas, not too many antennas actually, and we started making progress. With Jose, we made a second tower. Actually, it was Jose who built everything, 100% almost everything. Every tower was not bought, was built in the backyard. All the antennas were built in the backyard by Jose and a couple of friends. So we can say it's it's a little bit like Chris is doing. Chris is building now his own station in his ranch. I told him several times already he's doing a fantastic work, because we know what it is. When you build something from scratch, and here it's more like Jose does the mechanical work and I do the electronics and software part, because I'm an engineer by let's say, how do you say, by heart? No, I'm an engineer, so I started building some electronics, and with the help of my French guys, my French colleagues, we try to take the station to a higher level. And I think we every year we try to improve. Every year we have new stuff that it's built in. Last year we knew we had a very let's say problem, which is Asia direction, because we have a very good takeoff to the United States here. We are about 190 meters above sea level, and we can see actually the ocean from here. We're about 15 kilometers from the ocean. But on the Asia side, we have the top of the mountain is about 230 meters. So we are quite blocked to Asia, and the towers are not too high. We have a 25-meter high tower, two of them, which are crank up because the winds here get very, very high. So, for example, this is funny because ARL SSB, I started the contest with both towers down. I only had the top antennas that were out, so it was impossible to crank up the towers because we had the 80-kilometer-hour wind gusts, so it's impossible to take the towers up. And I was saying about last year that we added a new tower actually, which is about 200 meters away from the station, and this is our new recent job. That it's an ongoing project. Everything is connected with hardline, and we also have actually everything is not power bank, but with car batteries. So we have car batteries that are 200 meters away that we control a small PC with switching and rotator. So we have one tower which is far away, and this was very important addition to not addiction, but we added this tower because the Asia side was really bad, and now we see the big difference. Now we can hear them when the propagation opens. We can finally hear them, and before we did not hear them because we are lower in the mountain. So every year we try to bring something new, and this time it was the new tower.
Well, so much about what you just said that I appreciate. And one of the things is, this idea that you start a contest and quite often things shift. I mean, in your case, you have high winds, so I'm sure that wasn't your plan 4 days before, maybe even 2 days before. But here you are, the contest is starting at 0 Zulu, and you've got to shift and make another plan, which I think is actually one of the fun parts about contesting, that you get into it. And, I had a situation recently where a rotor broke, and my first inclination was I'm just going to quit. And I hung in there, and I worked around it. And certainly I'm not at your level or Dan, Chris, and Randy, but I ended up having a lot of fun, and I was proud of my score, and I hung in there, and I accommodated that issue. The other thing I like about what you're describing, you guys didn't set out to create a mega station overnight. I like this idea, if I heard it correctly, that you start as a single op, you move to multi-single, and the station evolves over time. This functionality increases over time. And frankly, I can relate to that better. That seems more kind of understandable and actually accessible to people like myself. When you read about K3LR or W3LPL or more recently K1LZ, where just out of nothing, all of a sudden there's this huge superstation on the coast of Maine, K1LZ. I mean, it's just not attainable to most ham radio operators. And I don't think that I'd want to jump over to get to that place. I like the idea of of learning a single op station first and then building upon it. So I'm actually taking some advice myself, as I usually do through these interviews. As you may know, a buddy and I bought a remote station up in northern Maine, and we're trying to figure out what we want from it. And I do really like this idea that sort of start from where you are, build upon that, build some success, and then as the need presents itself, then evolve it down the road.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. And I think something important is that, we the funds for it is coming 100% from Jose and myself. So it's very hard to build something like Krasis or K3LRs. It's very hard. Even some European stations, there are very big stations like Bradso station, E7DX, OM7 guys. They have very big antennas. Here it's very small. You would be impressed with the station. It's so small. The two towers, the antennas do not touch themselves, but they are very close. They're about 15 meters apart. 15, not 50. And we are able to do some nice scores with what we have. I think if we had a bigger station, this would be, of course, another level. But we're not into that. We know where we are, our level. We know our level. We know what we can do and what we can do better. And we know where to progress to. So this is very important, and we do as we can. If we want to add another tower, maybe we will not add it next year. We will wait 3, 4, 5 years. It doesn't matter. But we start the project, we end it. This is the way you do it. It takes whatever it takes. But as we started, we try to evolve.
So, Filipe, you've talked a lot about what's outside the towers, the antennas, even the elevation. What's inside the shack?
So inside the shack, currently, I've always been a Kenwood guy. I know there are, most of the guys don't agree with me. It's okay. I understand. Not everybody needs to agree. I've always been a Kenwood guy. We started with two 870s, actually 870s. It was our first two radios. We moved to 590s, and now we have two 890s. These are our main radios. We also have one ICOM and one FTDX 5000, one ICOM 7700 and one FTDX 5000, which were, let's say, donations. We did not buy them. Was one German, our very good friend from Germany, that he unfortunately passed away, and he wanted us to have the radio. This is one of the guys that came here every single year just to be with us. He did not even want to operate. He just wanted to be with us, hang out with us. And so, before he passed away, he told his wife he wanted us to have the radio, so we got it. He sent it, even if we did not want him. We told it was the wife we don't want it, but she sent it anyway. And the other FTDX 5000, it's funny because it was exactly the same thing. It was one of my, let's say, the person that really took care of me when I was very young was Julius, CT1ZW, a very good friend of mine. And unfortunately, he passed away 3 years ago. And it's the same thing. He wanted me to have the one part of his equipment. And he said, absolutely, it will be for Filipe. So he left me the equipment. We repaired some of them because they did not work. But, we use them. We use them with pride, because it's something that I know that belonged to someone that was very loved to us. So, we take we take what we can. That's the way we do it. Of course, switching system. Everything was built by myself. Switching system built with Arduino. So we have two touch screens, one for each main radio, and we don't have any buttons inside the station. We only have 4 touch screens, 2 for TX antennas and 2 for RX antennas. And of course, the RX antennas, if we have 4 radios, we have 4 RX touchscreens. This was developed by myself in the beginning, right from the beginning, because I was completely mad about the push buttons and the rotary switches and everything. So I focused on bringing everything together in one single box, which honestly, today, is the best thing I have ever done. Still today we use it, and we don't. It's like, when guys come to the station, they say, this is what I need in my station. It was 1 year work completely. I was built 100% in France. Everything was coded in France. I have a couple of 3D printers, so all the boxes were 3D printed. All the touchscreens were configured there too. Everything was sent in a very big box to Portugal, and just before one of the contests, we put everything together. And it's this is something I learned since the beginning, is that when you build something and you don't test it, it never works. Of course we had some problems, but we did not have time to test it. So this is something I do now a lot before the contest, is that I never leave anything to the last minute. I need to have at least 3 days testing completely, so I'm 100% sure everything will work.
This is the first time I've heard of people using touchscreens in their shacks. I mean, have you heard of other examples of that?
No. Yeah. No. Actually, yes. But very recently, last year, I know this Spanish guy, Echo Charlie 7 Whiskey Radio, I think, is using touchscreens, but in a different way. He's using via iPad or Android touchscreen. I'm using proprietary Next Station touchscreens since 2017. So since 7 years, actually.
So I was going to get into this later on, but I know you have a side business where you make and sell keys. Is it your plan to sell this touchscreen system, this switching system also?
I've done a couple of switching systems to a couple of guys that really wanted them in the beginning. But the problem is that, I work, I'm an engineer, so I don't have time to do everything. So unfortunately, I don't have time to do it. It's even if I wanted to create a business out of it, it takes just too long. So I had this idea in the beginning, but I stopped it right immediately because you cannot dedicate yourself 100% to everything. So I dedicate myself 100% to my job, and of course the remaining, let's say 50%, because we should have another extra. I dedicate to CW King, which is a side business we also started not so long ago.
So I want to take you back to the shack. I'm sorry I distracted you there with that
No problem.
that path. But so you got 4 radios. You have your proprietary touchscreen system, switching system that you've developed. What else is in that shack?
We have a big RX plate. Let's say it's our RX system that we can have 8 input antennas with 4 distribution radios, filtered with protections and everything, also built by me and Jerome for AGS. He did the RF part. I did all the programming, the Arduino stuff, and the PCB conceptions for the switches. What we have amplifiers also, OM power amplifiers. We started with AL 1500, but of course, when you are competitive guy, you need something that does not take any time. And this was one of the keys to build the touchscreens, is that everything works automatically. I don't need to press anything. I basically change either frequency on my radio, and amplifier, the antennas, everything changes. And of course, there is the worst part, which is the hot switching and the interlocking stuff. This is the worst part, because you really need to test everything on 100%. Otherwise, you can break something. And also, this was another point that I really wanted to, when I started making multi operations here, I wanted to make sure that anyone can operate. You don't need to be a genius to operate. You have your touchscreen. The antennas are identified. You know what antenna you have. The hot switching will, it's a red light in the touchscreen. It's very clear, and you don't break anything. Actually, I only had one thing that broke, and it was my fault in a contest. Since we started the multi-2, was a 50 ohm load that I'm using on the triplexers outside on our switching system, and this was my fault. But the station is built in a way that anyone can come and you will operate without taking 1 week course to choose which antenna. It's very easy to operate here.
I might be knocking on your door in a year or two.
Whenever you want.
So one of the things that's never come up in my conversations, but I was watching your YouTube video of you doing 2BSIQ, and I was really intrigued by how you had your screen set up. Tell me about that. Like, what do you have in front of you on your screen when you start a contest, and why?
I actually only have the log. I have one screen with the log and another screen with live score. I'm not like Chris, okay? I like live score. I think live score should be mandatory, like the recording for at least the top 10 guys. You are going to do top 10, okay, mandatory live score. This is the way, I think it's something that, keeps people talking about, oh, he's first. Okay, I went to sleep. Which place he is, and this is interesting. I think this is what keeps contesting. Also, something that it's very how do you say? I don't even know the word in English. Sorry, because I'm always thinking about in French. So it keeps you motivated. Is saying, okay, the guys are doing good. Can we do better? And this is something, we when we do multi, we actually put some 50-inch screen TV on the monitor in the shack, so everybody can see the live score. But coming back to the screen. So I have only my screen with DX log, and in DX log I only have the two band maps. Our radio 1, radio 2 entry fields, and of course all the statistics necessary to know what am I doing. But I also have this custom-made scenario change, because I'm using actually scenarios to do 2BSIQ. I'm not doing with two keyboards. I'm a one keyboard guy. So I have a scenario that allows me to have my RX and TX focus exactly what I want it to be, and basically that's it. The rate. I think I have it open all the time, and that's it.
Tell me more about the 2BSIQ setup, if you could, and try not to make it too technical for me and everybody else that's listening that doesn't have your engineer background, because it sounds like what you do is. First of all, as I said earlier, if you're just doing 2BSIQ, you're in a kind of a rarefied air, but it sounds like you're doing it even differently than most.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I'm not doing 2 or 3 keyboards. For me, it's, I think one very important part of the contest, because, you stay seated so many hours, and, the more you move, the worse you get, get more tired. So I tried with the 2 keyboards, as most people do, or even 3 keyboards if you have 3 radios. But I simply, find it, my brain is already formed in such a way that, the scenario knows where to go automatically. I don't have any problem of interlocking anything. I have the 2 hands exactly where they need to be, which is in front of the keyboard. I don't need to have one hand on the left and one hand on the right. I think ergonomically the one keyboard is 100% the best choice. But there is not too much hardware behind it. I have micro 2R, the small micro 2R, not the big one, which controls everything with the PTT and the RX and TX focus, and every command is sent by the DXlog. So the DXlog is making most of the let's say the exchange between the radios and the computer.
So Filipe, I want to switch gears a little bit outside of contesting. I think I saw somewhere that you also have done a lot of DXpeditions. I don't know if by yourself or with your dad, but tell me about that.
At the beginning, I started when I started ham radio. There was this program by David Kopac's Kilo Yankee 1 Victor and the Krasi K1LZ, and it was in very early years of my amateur radio years. I think around 2004, 2005. and I have never traveled before outside Portugal back then. So I found that they had this program that they would sponsor a young contester to go operate abroad. Actually, it was in Turks and Caicos for the first few years. So the way we had to do to try and compete was send a letter. I don't remember if it was 500 words. And so I wrote this letter, and I was very young. So I asked my father, "What do you think? Do you think I should go?" He said, "No, of course not. Where are you going all by yourself from Portugal?" No, but so in the end, I sent it. So I was very pleased, and I still am very grateful to Krasi and to David for what they did in the beginning. It was very, for me, it was a unique experience that brought. I think it's something. It helped a lot in this progression of contesting. It helped quite a lot. Also, I also took CAM 3KS, TI5 whiskey, TI7 whiskey. He invited me a couple of times to go to Costa Rica, so I was there once for ARRL CW for a multi. This was before Dan operate there as single op. So I was there a couple of times, one for a single operator and another time for the multi with Jim and a couple of friends, WX3B. But with my father, we did a lot of IOTA expeditions because it was summer, so we tended to go to put the two things together. Go with the family away somewhere and make the contest. So we try to always one thing leads to the other.
So it sounds like two different types of trips. The one trip where you go and use somebody else's station sounds like with your dad, you must have been packing up gear and taking gear with you, setting up antennas. Is that right?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, we do. And we when we do it, we want to do it right. So we just don't want to take one small radio and one small antenna. So we packed a lot of gear, and every time we went, it was interesting because all the other guys came with their small radio, but we had everything prepared in advance, all the switching, all the radios, all the antenna was really tuned. So you know how to do it. It was quite interesting. Yeah.
Do you think that experience helped your future in ham radio, particularly with station building? When you're going to a foreign country, you need to make sure you have all the parts, everything works, and then you need to problem solve in whatever environment you're in.
It's funny you mentioned that because in Jamaica, I was in Jamaica with Krasi. It was the first two operations of 6 Yankee 1 Victor many years ago. One of the monster motors stopped working. So the preparation for the station. You don't get another motor because you think it works at 100%. Just the day before the contest, one of the monster motors stopped working. So this is the kind of stuff that nowadays we think is that what could fail. We don't take everything in double, of course. But for example, the same preparation, this leads to what? This leads to, for example, last year in WRTC, I had 2 complete stations that were set up that I took to the WRTC because I did not want anything to fail. Even the charger for the PC, I had 2 chargers, I had 2 PCs, I had 2 of everything. So this is some sort of preparation that we do, and of course everything is connected. So when we start early to prepare everything, and we start to know what could fail or how to prepare properly, we try to do it correctly and have the minimum of problems possible.
Filipe, clearly I could talk to you for another hour. You're so well versed in every aspect of ham radio. But before I wrap up, since you mentioned WRTC, how many times have you been How's the qualifying looking for 2026? Tell me about your WRT experience.
I've been to WRTC 2 times now. The first time was with Jose. I was the team leader for the 2014 Boston experience. Actually, it was the first time ever a Portuguese team was qualified, so I was really, really, really happy about it. And the second time was last year. Because they changed the qualifying regions. There was only one region possible to qualify. Well, actually, it was Portugal, Spain, Azores. So this Western Europe region, let's say. And so we made an agreement with Imanol, like Charlie 2 Delta X-ray, to if one of us qualified, would take the other as a guest or a teammate. So unfortunately, I could not qualify because I had some health issues since 2019 to 2021. So Imanol did all the qualifying, and I agreed to come with him to WRTC. But and now, of course, we are back to the same situation, which is one qualifying slot only for the Western, which is Europe 4, Western Europe. So we're trying to do our best. We never know. Of course, we try to improve everything. So it's going okay. I'm second right now, but there's only been 4 contests until now. So we will see how it goes.
Who are you up against?
I'm against a couple of Spanish guys, but of course mainly John, Echo Alpha 2 Whiskey, he's very good operator. I know him personally, and he's very good operator, of course. But we never know. There are other guys that are competing too. So. We will see.
Well, Filipe, I immensely enjoyed this conversation with you. And again, I feel like I could talk to you for another hour, and I may give you a phone call later on. I really appreciate you taking time today from Portugal to join me here in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Kevin. And thank you to Jerry, too.